Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and let me see if I got it over here somewhere. Hey, look, by the way, we're right in the midst of election. You know, we got an election going on. Make sure you register to vote. Come October the 16th. That's the last day to file. And it just so happened to be a very, very, very important day. I mean, a very, very important day. And it just happens to be my birthday. How about that? My birthday, 16th of October. So I want to make sure, look, these are very important times now. It's very, very important that you get out and vote. I mean, it's very, very important. But anyway, today, again, it's along that same line aspect of it. We're right in the midst of the voting aspect of it. And so these shows on from now to the voting time, we're going to be basically introducing you to the public across the board. I mean, the citizens of Oregon here. And that's what we're talking about. I'm not talking about the national situation at this point in time. I'm more interested in Oregon right now aspect of it. And so for this particular show, there's Hispanic Heritage Month that's going to be coming up, and I think that will be the month of November or October. October, right? October, yeah, month of October, Hispanic Heritage Month. So I thought it would be a very appropriate time to maybe talk a little bit about that, educate the public in terms of what that means, if you will, to that segment of our community. And I think it's very important before we get into the politics of it, because 105 is a very important initiative that's out on the ballot this time around. We've always had this business about the whole issue of immigration. It concerns us all, and 105 is sometimes it can be combative from that standpoint. But the bottom line is sometimes if you get a little bit of history of what's going on and really understand the essence of what that means as it relates to all of us, because we're a multi immigrant population here in this country. Very important. So we need to know a little bit about all of us. Okay? So with that, I thought I'd invite someone that I just recently got off the campaign trail with, Maria Garcia. You know Maria already because both of us ran for county commissioner, district number 2, right in our district right here. And it was a very interesting one. And in all due respect, I thought I had it at number 2. Actually, she was number 1. And then I was number 2, and Sharon Maxwell was number 3, and then we had this foreigner that was there. I'll just leave it that way. Okay? But anyway, but in all due respect, we were running district number 2, and we were dealing with a lot of the issues that were there. We were on the campaign trail, and she did real well. But in honesty, someone won outright, if you will, and again, I have a little concern about that, and she does too, and Sharon has that too, but it's like anything else. But we were there. It was good. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You did real well. She got me on that last hit. So what we're going to do is that Maria is going to talk to us a little bit about, as you can see, she's Mexican, and I've got many friends who are Mexican, and she's going to not only she's going to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month. She's brought some folks with us today. And she's brought another good friend of mine, happens to be Emmanuel, and we know him because he was on the campaign trail too, because that's her other half, a very important half, and so I want to make sure that he was on the show with us. That's very, very important. And then she's going to introduce our guest here, and all I'll do is just sit back and let her sort of take the lead here on this piece. And in fact, I'm even inviting her. I've said this to her before, and you're going to probably be seeing her on an ongoing basis, maybe once a month or so, and hopefully she's saying that she has no problem being able to talk about issues that once she's learned on the campaign trail of Oregon, but most important, about a culture that we have been been combative within our own state, within this country for that matter. And I think she's going to be able to educate us, educate and inform, because that's really the nature of the show that I have here, to educate and inform. So with that, I want to welcome you aboard too on that particular end of it. And so that's another historic moment that we're having here, and a very important one. So with that, Maria, why don't you just kind of start off by maybe sharing with us the other guests that are here, and then at the same time spend a little time talking about Maria. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María García. My name is María García. I was born and raised in Mexico City. I am an Oregonian woman. Mexican Oregonian woman for the past 10 years. Very happy to be here. Thank you. And as you mentioned, we are about to celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month, right? And that's a celebration that is very popular in this country. Growing up in Mexico, I never heard of it. I never heard the Hispanic celebration month, a Heritage Month celebration.
Excuse me but just for the benefit of the viewing audience, a lot of times you said I was more familiar with Mexican, but then Hispanic came in. What's that difference there?
I always been a Mexican woman.
Okay.
I learned that I was Hispanic, that I was a Latino woman when I moved to Portland, actually. I live in Palm Springs for 13 years, and I never heard such differences, right? I heard the term Hispanic, Latino in school. I was taking Latin classes. So it's when I learned, right, the Spanish comes from Latin because it's the mother language, right? So that makes me a Latino woman because the language I speak, which is Spanish, comes from Latin, right? As well as Portuguese, as well as French, as well as Castellano, right? As well as Italian, right? So I learned this term, back in high school a few years ago. Right? So so now is the celebration. This celebration takes place pretty much everywhere, right? Recognizing the existence of Hispanics in Oregon, right? And therefore, I wanted to bring my guest, Emmanuel Citlalpopoca, and Matias Trejo. So I would like them to introduce themselves and give their perspective about the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration.
One point, because this is community television. I want you to be very relaxed and communicate to the public. That's what we're talking to. But I want you. She's so modest about herself, but I want you to share with them about the fact you're in business. You're a business person.
Yes.
You've got family. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean, I want you to spend a little bit more time about yourself.
All right. So I was born in Mexico City, as I mentioned before. I am a mother of two. I was 16 years old when I had my first daughter. Fernanda is her name, and I'm very proud of my daughter. Sandro, my son, he's 14. And living in California, I work as an orthopedic massage therapist, so I know the challenges and the struggles of getting a higher education, being a single mother, sometimes being in relationships that you don't complement each other. So life goes on, but I always look after my kids, and I did what it was in my hands to overcome all the obstacles that I had, right? Then I moved to Portland. I work in the Mexican consulate in the community affairs department, and it was very helpful to be in this position because it connected me with the Mexican community living in Portland. Is how I connected with a lot of community members through my job. Then I opened my business, Revolucion Coffee House, the first Mexican-inspired coffee shop. We've been in business for about 4 years. Then I got involved into activism through my our good friend Teresa Reifert, right? She's my mentor and good friend, and through Teresa, I learned about the challenges of Black community living in Oregon. I was very innocent of the problems of Black community had in this state. So activism really helped me to open my eyes to different groups. I was very familiar with the issues of my community or as a Mexican woman in my own challenges, and getting involved in activism, I understood and I realized that we are just we're a concept, right? And we have to fit in a specific place, and they put us in a place. When I say they, there's always a culture that is more powerful than others, right? So I understood that when I was called a Latino woman or a Hispanic woman or an immigrant or a woman of color, I understood that right there that's some type of racism, right? Because back home I was always a Mexican woman. Even when I live in California, I was a Mexican woman. So I've seen the racism. I've seen this separation that exists in our communities, right? And that happens in Mexico too. We are not innocent of racism. It is very heavy in Mexico too. And Emmanuel can talk us a little bit about that, because he brings a different perspective. He's a native indigenous man from central Mexico. But in my case, I got really very, very involved in activism, and I advocate for wrongfully incarcerated Latino men. I'm going to start working with youth incarcerated in McLaren. We met when I was running for office, running for Monoma County Commissioner of District Number 2. We had our challenges there, right? It was a really, really interesting experience. I never thought that I was going to be in such a position, but I did it. I did it because I understood that it was necessary for me as an activist to understand what is the process, the political process of how we elect our leaders, right? I didn't win that seat particularly, but I want a lot of friends. Many doors have been opened, and I want a different perspective, right? So that's very valuable to me. I like to promote culture. I continue having my business, and everybody's welcome to come to my business. But also my business has been a very, very important piece of my life, because my business has been loyal, to me. People come and go, but my business is there. My employees, my life is in my business. But being independent allows me to say what I think, to do what I want, because I don't have to respond to anybody but the people close to me and those that trust me. So I am a free woman, and again, I can really exercise my right of free speech as I please.
Well, I really appreciate that, because I've been in the politics for quite some time, and that's why I really appreciated the fact that you were running for office, because because of the background you had and the location of your business is very unique. A lot of folks didn't understand that. A very diverse arena, because you're located near Portland State. So you had all kinds of people walking into that business. And typically around a university, you're always communicating about different issues and this, that, and the other, and the kinds of issues we had here in our city from the standpoint of the activism and things of that nature. I could see that when you were running, and we were dealing and talking about politics when you were running and whatever. So that's really was an asset. And again, I appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons why I think that you need to be a part of what we're doing here at the Oregon Voters Digest, because it's so important. I mean, you have the pulse of the community sitting in your hand right where you are. And because we have this issue that we're having right now, the big issue of immigration and the whole issue of profiling, things of that nature, this is going to be a valuable tool to try to take us through these times and whatever.
Sure.
So I want to make sure that the people know that. She's been very, very active, and as one would say, we're still growing. We're all growing, for that matter. So it's very important. So I want to thank you very much, and I'd like to give him a hand, because he was there with you, and he saw you running for office, and I pull him out every so often and get him involved a bit. But he was there, and I really appreciate the fact you were there, because this can be a tough business. I mean, besides just being in business, it's a thankless business sometimes. You don't make the kind of money you want, because you get in politics and you put that in there, and people tend to want to divide that. But I think you were in a good spot, because you were in a very active spot, being the Portland State aspect of it. So what do you think about that? What do you think about her running, whatever?
Well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jose Emmanuel Citlalpopoca de Cuapacho. And obviously I came from, I grew up in the southeast area of Portland, 131st to be exact. And me coming up in that type of environment, where honestly people could call it the ghetto, where I remember 15, 20 years ago and stuff, like a Latino went over there to the southeast because it's really cheap. So again, I got the opportunity to meet a lot of different black people, Asians. I got to meet Hawaiians. I got to Chinese people. I got to meet all the types of them. So to me, I get to see like firsthand live, like see it and live it. Because obviously there was difference between color and such. But once we all got together when it came to sports, and we talked about, you know, after the game, what goes around your house, or what's going on around you and stuff. And then when we talked and interacted with one another, we were like, well, I got the exact same thing at my house. No matter being black or white or Asian, no matter what color we are. But that stuff like that made me like realize like, wow, okay, no matter the color, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we all want a plate at the table. Then we can have a shelter to eat.
Yeah.
So when it came to the politics and such, there's a lot of people in that power, but they don't know what's really going on behind the curtains, I guess you can say. And many people are afraid or uncomfortable to go to those areas where they don't feel comfortable. Obviously, if you're a people where grew up in a society where, you know, everything was given to you, or you know, you grew up in a nice house and you have to go like an example just real close to me, I used to go camping, and again, I mean, there was only two options. There's a nice house with a nice green yard and a nice car, Mercedes Bentley outside, and there was a house where it was like a Toyota, and there was like the house had like metal shed and stuff, and obviously not all of them, but I can speak for all of them, but obviously people feel more comfortable with like the nice house, like I feel more safe over there. But really, I myself felt better and more, I feel kind of can relate more to people with the Toyota or the shed at home, because I used to go around that. So I went to talk with these people and such, and they're actually really surprised. I actually went to knock on their house, because they were like, oh, I'm surprised they came to knock on my house and actually want to know my story and who I am, what's involved around me and stuff. And they felt more relatable to me and such. And as well as I talked about Maria, what she stood for and what her dreams and goals are, and they really passionate about have something to present you instead of going to a place where they feel comfortable. And yet still I went to the place where, you know, nice Bentley and such, but I mean, I got to see both different worlds. So when it came to the political side, when they got to see the meetings and stuff like that, you know, we also went to various forums where Native Americans, it came with the blacks, it came with the whites, and you know, we all the three of us got different specs of life, you know, different points of views, and yet still, I think it's sad that they have to label you and categorize you either Republican or a Democrat. Obviously, yes, I'm Mexican and I love who I am, and I know there's so many things that Mexico can give, so many I could be so proud of and put on the table where you guys can be cocky about. But yeah, still I gotta confess, like, you know, this is our problems, our issues that we have right now, and I can put the face and say, no, this is what the problems that we have. And I see, in the second way, I see that in Republicans and Democrats, where no, I believe in this, but yes, I'm a Republican and a Democrat, and it's what the same guidelines that we meet, but we can do better. You know what I'm saying? And that's when it came to the topic that I'll talk about, Hispanic and Latinos. Obviously, I growing up, indigenous, obviously you can see just from straight from my face, like people always ask me first time, like, what are you? Like, what do you mean, what am I? It's like, are you Asian? Like, no, I'm not Asian. Like, you Hawaiian? Like, no, man, I'm not Hawaiian. Are you Native American? Like, I'm not Native American. It's like, they're like, well, they had so many options. It's like, well, what are you then? Are you Arabic? And it's like, no, I'm not. So they're like, then what are you then? It's like, I'm Mexican. They're like, whoa, what? Now, when it comes to this, is when I was growing up, it was a village. I was born in Tlaxcala. And all the Tlaxcala, Mexico, and I was raised in San Luis de Cholco. All that's the native tongue that we speak over is Nahuatl, which is the native tongue before Spanish that was spoken there. The Aztecs spoke there. And so many people don't know, it's a fun fact, all the stuff that, like Mexico, it means, everyone knows was America, you know, Mexico means the center, the belly button of the moon. That's what it means. Translated, it's translated in Spanish to English.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, mole, all the stuff comes from moi. Pan, pancin, tortillas, aguacates, aguacat. All the stuff comes from the tongue that we speak. So now going back to what I was saying previously, in that aspect, and everybody looked just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, nothing far away from life. Okay, well, you look just like me. We're family here and there. But now coming to the U.S., it was weird because these guys are Mexicans. You know, we speak the same language, Spanish. But why is your last name Gutierrez or Hernandez or Garcia? It's like, wait, hold on. I was like, well, tell me what's going on. And why are you like eyes different than mine? Because they got round eyes. And now my eyes were like more slinged out. So it's like, why are your eyes different than me? So it's like, what's going on? It's like, you guys are Mexican, but not my Mexican. And for me, it was a little weird. Like, what was going on? Like, I remember I used to go to my mom's like, are these people Mexican? Like, they speak the same language that we do and stuff. But I was like, what's going on? And that's when I came to see that it's obviously different, more diverse. Because obviously in the village, to be honest with you, you're more close. You really don't got anything to. Everything's inside with you. You got to go no reason to leave or go out. To go out. When it comes to the Hispanic and Latino month, obviously it's a good thing that we have a recognition, and obviously even with the black month, a month is not enough to give us exactly what we are. I mean, it's obviously there's more than just Mexicans. There's actually Puerto Ricans, the Peru, Panamanians, it's everything that 31 days it cannot be given. But at the same time, we do the best that we can to have just a little speck of who we really are, and bring it for the people to know and be informed of who we really are, and what our goals and what we can give to society in a positive way. And all that can also be involved when it comes to on the political side. Many things that people are not informed. Obviously, I know many people that are like, oh, I didn't know you guys go through that and such, because they're not informed of what's really going on with us. And that's something that hopefully people viewers at home and get to see, actually have the opportunity. Don't be timid to talk with those people and ask them how is their life like, what do they do, or what are they accustomed to. That's the same thing that I encourage a lot of people to do. Don't be timid or shy. Obviously, I don't discriminate against people like as being biased, because how am I going to discriminate about something or criticize them when I don't really know what the history of the roots are? Muslims and such, like, why do people criticize them? Like, I'll actually go out there and try to learn and try to see, not be with them, but understand and be a part of it, kind of a picture of it, because obviously I cannot be them. Nothing that I understand that more or less. I just try to understand, at least get a clue what's really going on.
Okay, sounds good. Well, as you can see, that's one of the reasons why we need to have a Heritage Month aspect of it, because in order, again, to educate and inform. It's very important. You did a good job. In fact, when I first saw you, the first thing that came out of my mind was, when are you going to get in the course? I didn't have my Marine. I was a recruiter. So you fit the pair big time. I would have gotten you in right off the bat. But the bottom line is that, but no, I really appreciate how you shared what you had, and that's the importance of having Heritage Month. And again, that's one of the reasons why I think that Maria would do a good job, again, to educate the public, and I appreciate that too from you, Maria. Okay, I appreciate you bringing him over here too, and that's her mate too. Right, good. So look here, we got about another 7 minutes, and before we get too involved with our other guests, you might want to make a few more comments about the Heritage Month deal. Where are you with that?
Well, right now there are different celebrations taking place all over, but I personally am working in a Day of Death celebration, and that's going to take place on November 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. at PNCA, and November 2nd from
PNCA, what is that?
It's Pacific Northwest College of Art.
Okay.
This is our second year partnering together in celebrating Day of Death.
And where's that located, kind of?
It's on Broadway. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Okay.
Southwest Broadway, but I don't remember. It's the only PNCA here. And on the November 2nd, at the Portland Art Museum, we're going to be hosting Day of Death celebration also from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're going to be having a great gastronomic event. Many Mexican and restaurants and stores will be selling mole, will be selling pan de muerto, sweet pastries, and we're going to have an altar exhibition there. So very soon, this week, we're going to have the Facebook event promoting. So all of you are welcome to come and celebrate this. And I would like to introduce my friend Matias, who's Matias Trejo de Dios, who is a really, really good friend of mine and the founder of ICO, Instituto of Cultura Oregoniana. So Matias can tell us more about it
Well, before
and
we
what
start,
his background.
before we start, we are going to take a break here in about,
All right,
another
okay.
3 or 4 minutes, and let's go on and spend a couple more minutes. If he wants to respond, he may want to respond a little bit to the heritage. You've been working with Maria, right, about putting this piece together.
We're not having anything for the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration here. It's going to be in Salem, actually, on October 20th.
So you can spend a little bit more time with the other guests.
Yeah,
right?
sorry, my bad.
Okay.
October 20th at the Capitolium. But Matias will.
We'll talk a little bit more about that.
More
but
about that.
On that other one, anything else? Now tell me, like I said, we have about 3 more minutes. You got 3 more minutes. Now, let's talk about some of the other activities that are happening with you, with reference to the groups that you're meeting with now, to get to this point where you're just so involved. And now, how's that coming about? You got involved with this group, as I understand it. You got this group aspect that you've been working with, and you got together to the point of you're now trying to promote these other things, like you bringing him and whatever. How'd you meet him, so to speak?
How did I meet Matias?
Yeah,
I don't know.
involved.
It was actually, we both share the passion for art and culture, right? So we have a mutual friend who's an excellent painter, Hampton Rodriguez, right? So, and he's from Dominican Republic. He's one of the most talented artists, Latino artists that we have in Oregon, right?
Really?
So it was an exhibition that Hampton put up in his place. It was a studio. His house was turned into a studio.
Here in Portland?
Yeah, we have
I didn't know.
very
I
valuable
know.
people in our communities. That's why it's important to talk about this and bring
yeah.
our guests, because it's where we met. I brought in Alberta, in Northeast Alberta.
okay,
So
okay.
I brought food and to support my friend, and he had the open house for to show his art. And Matias was there too, along with other friends, and it's how we met, right? And since then, we just became really good friends, and we have shared, projects, and we're always looking into promoting, but not as an entertainment, but as an educational tool. The fact that we are living in Oregon, and in our communities, we have assets. We have artists, we have you name it, musicians. We have really, really talented people. So we're always looking, and bringing them in. This is something that we do always. We invite them to the table, right, Matias? To events. We always, we need a musician, we know how to call. I know a lot of people through Matias, and likewise, right? We share that, Sometimes we are just a bridge to connect, with people with other people. So I'm heavily involved in the community. It's just life takes you to places. I truly believe that we get where we're supposed to get sooner or later, right?
All right.
So life just takes you to places and connects you.
Well, as you can see, this is why she needs to be on the show, because she's got a lot to say, and she needs to educate and inform in terms of what this culture. We got a very rich culture here in this state, and unfortunately, we don't know enough about it. And again, that's the point I'm talking about communicating, because the more you can communicate with someone, then we can understand one another. And then all of a sudden, we don't have as much of the conflicts. You can really tell what's on our mind, because once you put what's on your mind on both sides, then people can talk and understand where you're coming from. And at the end of the day, we're a happy band. Then we're America. No problem. We're all together, okay? And we can enjoy one another's cultures, okay? Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back. And we're going to meet this other guest. We've been having quite a conversation, he and I. And he's going to just go and do his thing, okay? Take a short break, folks. We'll be right back.
You are watching Oregon Voters Digest. This program can be seen again on these channels on these dates and times. Tell a friend.
Okay, here we go. Well, folks, we're back, and we got here in a half hour. Again, we're talking about the Hispanic community, i.e. the Mexican community, and we've gotten a better definition of what the Hispanic community is all about through one of our new hosts here on the Oregon Voters Digest with Maria. And so we just talked about some of her background and whatever, and some of the things that she's doing, and I think we've got all kinds of things that we're looking forward to with her guests. And I'm telling you, when we had this last half hour aspect of it, there were a lot of things that were going. I never had the invitation, but now I'm going to definitely have an invitation, and I'm going to be there, and we're going to learn one another, with everybody out there. So now what we're going to do this half hour, now guess what? We're going to get a good sampling in terms of what she's going to be doing in the future, okay? She's going to now introduce a guest, and we're just going to go through a conversation and get a better feel of what's going on. And I'm going to be kind of the layperson, because anything that I don't understand, I'm going to break in. And then Emmanuel's going to be right there too, just in case, okay, to get the background. Okay? With that, it's yours.
All right, thank you. Yes, boy, as I was saying before, I am very passionate about promoting culture that I'm familiar with. You know, I'm proud of being a Mexican. I'm proud of my heritage, and I like to have what I can call my friends, people around me that have the same passion and always contribute, always bring something to the table. And this time I decided to invite my friend Matias Trejo de Dios, who is very passionate about speaking Spanish, right? About being proud of being an Oregonian, not just a Mexican woman, a Spanish man, no. We are Oregonians. And Matias is a very intellectual man. And he speaks several languages. And he's a very cosmopolitan man. And he has always very interesting perspectives about different aspects of life, but mainly culture. And I always respect his opinion and his work, and he knows that. And so I invite him to come and speak about the very first book.
I'll put it up there. I get it.
In Spanish.
Do it right here.
It's an anthology of poetry. We have Spanish poems written by local talent, local Spanish speakers, Oregonians, who are very talented. So Matias will tell you more about what is ICO, where ICO came from, and the very first product of ICO in Oregon. Welcome, Matias.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be in your program, and to share table with everyone here. This book is a very important book, but before that, just to raise the level of discussion in the thing. I don't think we should be, in a perfect world, we shouldn't be celebrating Hispanic heritage or African American heritage.
Really?
Yeah.
Why'd you do? You brought my name up. I thought I'd get up.
Well, listen, you see, that's why I invite him, because
Good,
he
I
has
did that.
a different
Let's talk
perspective,
about
and the point is that we have to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, tell us why did you make
tell
that
us why.
comment? What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well,
No Hispanic heritage and no African American.
who schedules and who authorize those celebrations?
Who authorized those?
Where do those celebrations emanate from? It emanate from the African American population, the Hispanic, or for the white Anglo-European celebration? Hey, we have to give you a little bit of recognition for being here.
Okay.
I think African American history, and those words are not quite mine. You know, I have to thank a little bit Mr. Morgan Freeman for those too. Quite an intellectual guy. You know, it's U.S. history.
U.S. history. I like that.
Yes.
Okay. U.S. history.
African American history is U.S. history. Hispanic history is U.S. history. I'm talking about Hispanic. If we really start looking at the first episodes of the European conquest, occupation, however you want to call it, of the American continent, in these lands called Oregon, they were actually not English. They were Spanish, and then they were Mexican. And so,
how was that? How so?
That's what history was. I mean, before Francis Drake made it here for a few years, we have several other people that made it, and they happened to be Spaniards, you know.
Okay.
At some point, the whole Oregon coast, California, even up to Washington, Alaska, it was named into Spanish. Those things, because that's the way history evolves, you know, they were remaining to English, you know, because we had to establish an English-speaking, cohesive, united history. And I'm not saying that this is good or bad. I think that every civilization, empire in the history of humankind, they have reunited about one God, one language, and one flag, you know, why we were going to be different. But at some point, demographic changes that are happening right now, those kind of models, you know, of promoting, you know, one everything and then give a little bit of the leftovers of the dinners, you know, to the rest, you know, so they can fight among themselves, you know, doesn't work out. It doesn't work out in Woodburn, Oregon, where 17% of the population speak Spanish. It doesn't work in the city of Hillsbury, where more of 50% of the population speak Spanish. In the city of Salem, something like 30%. And collectively, in the state of Oregon and in our nation, the United States of America, but there is more and more people speaking Spanish, and so far that has been interpreted as a problem that we have to deal with. And I would love to think that we're ready for some sort of social economic Tai Chi and convert that problem into a source of prosperity that benefits everyone in here and outside.
Okay.
Now, can you tell us, Matias, what ICO is and where it came from and where is it going?
Well, ICO is right now, ICO is an idea. It's an abstract.
And stands for?
Right, it stands for Instituto de Cultura Oregoniana, and right now it has the form, because society makes you take forms, shapes, you know, so it has the form of a non-profit organization, a 501(c)(3). Okay, and I have to be the founder, not myself. Several other people were with me, like Maria, and I've been the director so far. And our mission is to promote the Spanish-speaking identity of Oregon and the United States of America. Meaning, like, if you're in here and this is your land and you speak English, you're Oregonian. But when you speak Spanish, you are not Oregonian. In that second, you are something else that right now there was no name for it. And we came with the name. It's called Oregoniano. If you speak Russian, we have several thousand of organic Russian speakers here in Oregon. You're Oregoniansky. So Oregonianskis and Oregonianos and Oregonians, we share the same symbols. We don't feel any kind of remorse, of allegiance of our symbols. Right now, the current model that we are producing is not like that. Most Hispanic population, in order to give dimension to their identity, if I may say, they have to feel antagonistic feelings with the symbols of the state of the nation. I think that is something consciously or unconsciously promoted by the white Anglo-European part of society, to still have the feeling, even in these demographic changes times, to have a feeling of control. But then other parts of the universe, like the corporate world, when you buy a fridge or a TV, everything is in Spanish. They already know. Budweiser, Hewlett Packard, when they have a communication marketing budget, how many people in here speak in English? 80%. How many Spanish? 20%. Okay, give me 90 millions in English and 10 millions in Spanish. That doesn't happen at the governmental and cultural world. They still want to frame us, as underserved people and permanently be there, and let me see if I have a little bit of spare change so you can do your mariachi dance. I think we're more than that, and we're dimensioning a big chunk of population that is going to get bigger, and we need to find ways to actually make that fact, unique fact, produce prosperity for everyone. That's pretty much the whole speech condensed into 4 minutes. It took a while.
We like to talk, we can go on all night. But this is one of many reasons why I'm heavily involved in different aspects of society. And I always bring my humanity to the table, right? And who I identify with, in this case, as a Mexican woman, Spanish speaker woman, right? Because I see these problems. I see that in this particular case that we're talking about, Hispanic community has been tokenized, right? And we need to bring to the table, and it's our responsibility as citizens, right? Bring to the table the best of us. And the best of us is going to be in our culture, in our actions, in those people that relate to us, those that we relate to, right? What are we doing together as a team? We need the people to know that we are coming from different backgrounds, and within our own community, we are diverse. It's a clear example here. A Mexican mestizo woman, an indigenous man from Mexico, and a Spanish man, right, who live in Marruecos, right, and live in different parts of the world, but we have Spanish in common, a language in common, right? So what do we do with this asset that we have, that is our language and our backgrounds and our connections and our work? So how are we going to bring all this goodness to the table? And we're finding different ways. This is one of them, a book that reflects the feeling, the thoughts, the passion of a few Spanish speakers, right? That like to write poetry, right? And they love their language and they want to express it. And they live here. They're Oregonians, right? But this is just one little piece of the big asset of our community. And we are going to obviously working on different products, right? But it's important to talk about who is in our community, what is it that we're doing, why it's important to speak Spanish, right? Emmanuel, he brought to the table this morning. We had a meeting at the with the ECO, right, members, about the celebration. What was it? Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, and he said, "I don't identify as an Hispanic or as a Latino because I am an indigenous man." So right there, we start talking, right, about different things.
So obviously, to this day, history has been changed many times. Obviously, for the favors politically, in power and money. We all know that for a fact. And obviously, do I know everything about my culture? Am I the wisdom of everybody come to me for questions? No, I'm not. Because I go to other people and tell them, why is this? I go to my grandmas, my uncles and everything. But I know from myself, especially the flag that I have, where I'm from, it comes from Spanish, Españoles, la Reina Juana y el Rey Felipe. It's based. I'm from the Spains, but I'm still Mexican. I'm still, I guess people consider Hispanic. So I got history from Spain, Spain itself, indigenous, and Hispanic, all three in one. So then there's a confusion that you have as a child growing up in society like that. Again, like I was saying, just to me personally, many people have the ignorance, even our own people, Mexican people, Latino people, have the ignorance to say, you don't speak Spanish, why not? Why you don't speak Spanish? But many people don't know that not all Mexicans speak Spanish. People have, that's their second tongue. My first tongue was Nahuatl. I don't speak it no more. No, and I'm ashamed of it. Yes, I am. My second one is Spanish, where right now we all three of us can communicate and bring us together. The third one is English, and yet again, it was forced up upon me, and this is just me personally. And I know many people of past generations again, they had to hide their identity because they couldn't fit into America. So, from that point of view, as you can probably understand, as a little kid, a kid burns like a sponge. You have to absorb everything. You can tell them, don't do this, and the kid will not do it. But there's a point where he or she breaks that chain. That why not? I asked the question, why not? So I come into where I'm from. I'm indigenous, and I have to go to school where it's on the paper, European, Caucasian, Hispanic, Latino, and other. It was like, well, and obviously I did the error of putting Hispanic and Latino because everybody else did it. Because we all try to fit in the crowd, where we all try like, oh, I want to be part with them. But then yet still thinking back of who I am and what I am, it's like, no, I'm none of that. And I put indigenous. So you can't just label one person Hispanic and one person Latino. There's various with their own community. Even here in the United States itself, you just can't say to a Native American, you're Native American. No, they're gonna tell you, on the contrary, I'm Native American, and I'm from this tribe. You can tell them from American, white person, oh yeah, but some of them will tell you I'm from Ireland. They're gonna tell you so many things. So you can't just label. I know if I go to an American and tell them, hey, if I go to a black person, African American, but if I do the exact same concept to a white person, European American, they're gonna be offended. Like, wait, well, I'm not European. I'm American here because I'm born in America. But yes, if I label them, how they labeled, but that's Latinos, as black people, you're African American, Mexican, Latino American, Mexican American. If I go to a white person, European American, they're gonna get offended. So why come they don't feel the same aspect as we do? How come they don't get offended? Like, well, I'm African American, but I'm already 12th generation in here. I'm American. Again, from respect from the Latino, Hispanic community, it's like, okay, we cannot forget where we come from, but that we cannot hide. We cannot hide the fingerprints. All this stuff that we have, all this, you see, if you can really tell, but I have my red beard, and that's a scar that I gotta wear every single day. And what I say by a scar I gotta wear every day, because that's like the rape that was going through our people. The Spaniards, the Europeans were raping our own people. So it's a scar that I gotta wear every single day. But at the same time, I'm not ashamed of it, because I publicly say this is how I know my history. And I'm informed and not ignorant, and I'm as well open to learn more. So again, when it comes to all of this, sums up that we all, like Matias was saying, who put the authority or the stamp of the label, this is the day and that's only you get. How come we don't get to choose what other day? I mean, and Matias is right. I mean, we all gone to school and stuff. We talk about black slave, and America is confessing that we did this, and it only goes 1 week of teaching it, and then now we go to the presidents. Like, how come we don't take a whole course of African American, a whole course of Latino? Because all the Latinos I know here is people from here, from like again Chicanos and stuff, and like, nothing wrong against them, but them too have fingerprints in their body, in their blood, their DNA. Mexican people, Puerto Rican people, all of them have that inside that they wanted to express, but they couldn't, but they didn't have the time to, and that's why we're here today. But we all four of us sitting down right here, and we all have different points of view, different heritage, different ancestors, different beliefs, different thoughts, different views, and we all bring it down here so we can discuss and relate to them. Because like I was saying earlier, we have many roots that grow from one end. But if you look up, we're all from the same tree.
How do you respond to that, Matthias? And you got the background. I mean, are we sort of sort of an educational kind of a revolutionary kind of a deal?
I hope so. I fully agree with Emmanuel. I think we hopefully are on the verge of a next step in human evolution, because I talk to many new generations. That's where all my hopes are, and they're really tired about labeling, and they're tired about Republican and Democrat and liberal and conservatives, and those things. They really sound like 19th century concepts that they still an old society that doesn't really care about planet, about the future people, but about only interest. I'm trying to push, and I really agree. And I see politicians, good politicians, but I'm very pro the 5 or 6 subjects, that really, sir, ma'am, I don't care about you talking about pro-choice, no choice. I mean, really, do you still want to talk to me about that? With all the problems of the world, about weapons, you want to create problems here where the problems don't exist, so we can spend our time, our lives discussing, like in the Hispanic community. Okay, well, now we're gonna create a problem with the driving license, and tomorrow we're gonna create a problem that didn't exist with the wall, and today another, and then I will pay you so you can spend your civil rights and workers' right life, debating and about those problems. Oh, really? That's very interesting. That's oppressive to me.
It is, and we see it and we live it every day. Right? And now the new trend, the Latinx, the Chicanx, right? It comes from the same. I see it as somebody else saying, this is how it's going to be, take it or, do whatever hell you want. And here we are. Okay, now we are Latinx, now we're Chicanx, and we are all this. No.
Divide and conquer.
That's the problem. And I see it's trendy right now, Latinx. No, we're not Latinx. We're not. I am a Mexican woman, a Mexican man, Spanish man, right? I am Maria Garcia. I'm not Latinx, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not Latino. We want people to recognize the humanity of each one of us. I see you as Bruce. I don't see you as a black man. I never saw you as my opponent, and even though I saw you as the man you are. And I always greeted you, right?
Yeah.
And we chat and we disagree and agree. But I respect you because I respect your humanity, right? I respect the humanity of my friend. We have disagreements, but I respect his humanity, right? So when we start learning to see the value of people for who they are, and we start calling people by their names, right? Then we are recognizing that as a thinking human.
Okay, let me ask a question on you. What does ESL say to you? English is a second language in our education system.
That was a long time
How do
ago.
you respond to that?
I think
Because it was designed initially for
Money makers. It's a
well,
way
I
to
think
make
that
money.
we live in a place where, in this time of history, the history was conforming to an English universe. So English is a very important language in the world. It's a language for economics, for commerce. I think everyone in Oregon and in the United States should speak good English. So if you don't have English as your language and you come to the United States of America, the less you can do is to speak English, good English, hopefully.
Basics.
Basics. But I would tell you exactly the same thing with the Spanish. Look, Spanish has been a culture that has been here even before than the English one. Why do you insist in producing and financing Hispanic leadership that don't speak Spanish? Make you feel more comfortable.
Yes.
That's what they do right now. But that really creates a lot of problems, also in terms of our democracy. I mean, within the Hispanic ranks, you only get one leader every 10,000 people, Among the widening population, out of the 10,000 people, you get 1,000 leaders. which means that any governor or any person in that position of power in our say, oh, I want to take a picture with my Latinitos. And he or she needs to only call 50 people and say, hey, 25% of the population like
Are
me.
with me. That's an insult.
That's bold. That is where it doesn't produce prosperity. It produces really under definition. How can we mathematically and possibly produce maximum potential if by definition a growing part of our society is underdefined as a second class? Impossible.
We got about another 2 minutes. Just about another 2 minutes. But this ESL is a very important piece because it's in our education system here in the state of Oregon.
EDL now, right?
That's why I wanted to get there. Huh?
EDL now, I think
It changed.
to EDL.
ESL.
No, now it changed.
It's not. What is it now?
Yeah, because let me real quick.
English as a second language.
It was ESL.
It was
Now, what is this now?
EDL, English Development Language.
Jesus Christ. So where do we go with that one?
I will put a D.
Okay. So, but no, that's something that we need to talk about because
just a quick
we'll
comment
come back.
about
We will
this
come back.
because when my daughter, when we came to this country, my daughter was 3 years old and Spanish speaker, a little girl, and they tried to put her in an ESL program. Now I didn't know, and I thought, okay, that's good, you know, because I don't want my daughter to suffer. I want her to understand, you know, what's going on as a mother, right? Not knowing the language either. But she was getting behind, and even one teacher said, no, we need to put her in a regular English class, right? Otherwise, how is she gonna learn? And I said, okay, I trust, you know, the judgment of the teacher, and that was my experience. But then my friends had the same experience, and even a couple of them had their 2 little girls going through this ESL program, and both of them, they were behind, and they weren't speaking good English when they were already 8-9 years old, and my daughter was fluent, you know, by then. So I don't think ESL is of much help. I know it's a well-funded program, and I know it generates money.
and
right?
EDL too.
Yes, it's the same.
Updated version
Yeah.
of ESL.
So I don't. I think our kids are smart enough to learn the language at school, and it's proven. You know, they learn it, right? It may be some specific cases that maybe they need extra support, but I don't like Matias. I rated at D.
Well, as you can see, we're gonna probably continue this conversation again in some very near future aspect of it. But next week, Maria's going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about the 105, the ballot measure that's on the ballot, if you will, for the vote aspect of it. But this has been very enjoyable, as you can see, the need, if you will, to communicate and educate. Okay, thanks very much, as the president.
Thank you.
And thank you all. Thank you. And you know what we have to do now. You got an idea of the thought, okay? Thanks very much, folks. We'll be right back. I'll be checking out the next show and be interviewing candidates. Have a good one. See you next week. Bye.